Normally, in this time slot, we would have a meditation where I would sit on the stage or stand here and tell you about the weather and how it's a new year and more about the weather and all. But as we're doing a series this month on the basics of the science of mind, the keystone of the teaching of our spiritual practice is something called spiritual mind treatment, a form of affirmative prayer. I want to do one of those now. I did it at 9:30, but you can't treat too much.
No.
When they say, well, can I treat twice for the same thing? You sure can. You just pick up where you left off with the first one. So I'm going to treat now, and this is partly so you can hear what one sounds like, since that's my aim, is that you should know, so that you can do these yourself, and also it's to accomplish a particular outcome that you will hear about as we go into it. There is one life, one power, one presence, one source of all that is. That one is God. That one is Goddess. That one is whatever you choose to call it. Just know that it encompasses all creation, all form, and back of all form, all potential. This one is infinite, it is everlasting, and it is in you. For you and I are the experience that it is having of itself in this world at this time by means of us. Therefore, as I speak this word myself, I know that within me, all the attributes of this one are to be found. It's love, it's compassion, it's creativity, it's healing, and it's knowing that nothing has ever been wrong. Feeling those capacities present within myself. I draw on them now as I speak this word into form about Australia, particularly Eastern Australia. And I affirm and know that right now clouds are gathering, wind currents are shifting, ocean tides are moving. Something is happening, guided by infinite intelligence, and I need not know what it is, for it does know. To extinguish the flames, and to restore the flora and the fauna and all the life, all the ordinariness of daily life to the people of this land. As this is occurring, I affirm that each person, each living thing is protected and guarded from any harm, surrounded in a cocoon of love, because this is what Spirit does. And the leaders of this country, all the way up to the Prime Minister, are guided by infinite intelligence to say and do just the right things, to support this in being so. So that the flames go out, the grass grows again, the forests are tall and strong, the animals are happy, the people are thriving, and all is well. And that there is a long-term solution to this, so that such as this never happens again. For this knowing, the way that it manifests in form, the beauty of it, the elegance of it, I am so deeply grateful. And I say thank you, infinite presence of life, Father, Mother, God, that this is so. And I bid it good day. And so it is.
So it is.
Now we have a little piece called the Inner Healing Experience. Universal love enfolds me. Universal wisdom inspires me. Universal spirit enlightens me. Universal power encircles me. I am one and all is well. I invite you now to open yourself to the miracle-working higher power and symbolize the unity of your thinking and feeling nature by touching your chest with your right hand, letting my words act as your own for your own inner acceptance and receptivity. I acknowledge that there is a power, intelligence, and wisdom greater than my own. I am in the midst of it, and it is in the midst of me, sensitive and responsive to my every thought, word, action, and feeling. I now make this true for myself by saying aloud, I acknowledge.
I acknowledge.
Acknowledging this higher power working through my life, I admit that I am personally responsible for solving my own problems, while being guided and assisted by something greater than myself. As I become ready to surrender the conflicts of my ego to the wisdom of this infinite presence, I simply speak these words, I surrender.
I surrender.
Knowing that forgiveness is the key to unconditional love and the feeling of heaven, I now unconditionally forgive anyone and everyone who has ever injured me in any way, real or imagined. And I now forgive myself for all my mistaken judgments and their resulting actions. From my deepest level of understanding, now I say, I forgive.
I forgive.
Realizing that I continually experience the effects of my own thinking, I now choose to allow this higher power to recreate me deeply, filling my mind with thoughts that are only constructive, positive, loving, and beautiful. I call upon this divine inflow by stating aloud, I choose.
I choose.
I now center upon that one special idea that I'm willing to accept as real for me in this coming week, visualizing this idea as already acted upon and brought to pass. In seeing my idea become a fact of my experience, I enjoy the happiness and peace of my thought fulfilled and gratefully speak these words, I accept.
I accept.
Knowing that I have an everlasting place in the midst of the power that sustains all creation, as well as the support of all those around me, I allow myself to relax in the peace of fulfillment and gratitude and say, I release.
I release.
Now in my mind's eye, I call to mind the face, the image of someone who's touched my life in powerful, wonderful ways. This could be a friend, a family member, a teacher of mine. It's someone who's not physically present with me in this room this morning, so I greet this being of light and consciousness, turning toward that face I see in my mind's eye and saying, I'm grateful for the good in your life.
I'm grateful for the good in your life.
Now I open my eyes to the world around me, turn joyfully to these folks here and say to each of them, I'm grateful for the good in your life. And you're here on an auspicious Sunday because it's the start of the series on the basics of the science of mind. We do this every January. And I think what I'm going to do this year is extend it out some months, and maybe lay off some of the history and philosophy stuff and get into the more practical aspects of this. So you are sitting in a religious science center this morning. Did you know that? You know how they come on and they'll say, we're on our way to San Francisco, and if San Francisco's not in your travel plans today, you'll want to disembark at this time. Well, I hope you don't disembark. You sit still for an hour. 1 hour of your life. 1 hour of your life can change your life. You are sitting in a religious science center that teaches the science of mind, and a few years ago our organization decided that to make it less alarming to the general public, we rebrand ourselves Centers for Spiritual Living. But we are religious science, and I am a religious scientist. This is a teaching that was founded by a man named Ernest Holmes around the time of the First World War. And what he did was read Emerson and the Bible, principally, to start with, and then a lot of other things. And he found in them, and he found in world spiritual traditions, a thread, a continuity of information running through all of this that talked about the presence of the divine within. All right, so let me get a little technical with you for a moment. There are exoteric and esoteric aspects to spiritual practice. exoteric and esoteric. The exoteric aspect is like we sing a song, we say a prayer, we have a ritual of some kind. We have a repeatable thing that we do. There's a liturgy. There's a holiday. That's exoteric. The stuff that we do, we're filming this, so that's exoteric too. Esoteric is how you feel about it. It's how you feel when you sing the song or you say the prayer or you chant the chant. And we're very involved here in the esoteric understanding of things. That it's not so much the words, it's how you feel about the words. It's not so much the prayer, it's the belief that you have in the prayer. And this is what Holmes found running through all of these different spiritual traditions. And he also discovered that a lot of other people before him had found the same thing and had written about it. But at the time he was telling us this, in the early years of the 20th century, it hadn't been all that long before that you couldn't really talk about this stuff that openly to people. Just a couple of hundred years before that, it could have gotten you in very serious trouble. To tell people that you have unmediated, direct access to the source of all life, to God. Direct, unmediated access. You don't need priests, and you don't need ministers, and you don't need anybody, you don't even need saints and stuff in the way. You can go to God directly in prayer. Saints are wonderful, and clergy is useful, and all of these people have messiahs and avatars and bodhisattvas. They all are wonderful, and they all have their place, but they're not going to do your work for you. You can go to God directly. For a long time, this was super secret stuff. It got people in real hot water to say this. Why? Because it threatened the establishment. You know, if I need you to come through me to get to God, and there's money in it for me, and I have a whole institution built up around that idea, then I'm going to jealously guard that door. And this is often what happened, but things started to come apart at the seams there after the Industrial Revolution, following the Enlightenment, so to speak, in the Western world. And you couldn't keep this stuff under a rock anymore, so it started to leak out. Holmes was one, not the only one, but one who found it. And he was who I was most drawn to, his work, when I first encountered New Thought. And so I devoted myself to teaching it. This is religious science. He called it religious science because he believed that religious or spiritual practice could be repeatable, demonstrable, scientific. You see, a thing is scientific if you create, for example, an experiment of some kind, and you do it, and it has a certain result, you write it down. You do it again, it has the same result, you write it down. You do it often enough, and you say, well, when I do this, that happens, and I can take it to the bank. And then somebody else tries it. They call this peer review, right? But somebody else tries it down, it works for them. And Holmes used the example, he said, you take red paint, and you mix it with blue paint, you get purple paint, right? You learned that in what, first grade? And if you go across the street and you do it, you get purple paint. And if you go to the moon and do it, you get purple paint. And if you don't do it, but you give it to somebody who's a really nasty person and they do it, they get purple paint. And it doesn't matter whether they're good people or making healthy choices or any of the rest of it, because it's paint. And red and blue will get you purple. Well, that's a scientific kind of result. Scientific prayer is a prayer that's predicated not on God happening to be in that day and liking you and deciding, oh, okay, or being all parental about it, saying, well, you really don't deserve this, but you've nagged me enough that I'm, all right, just to get you out of my hair. Here I go, you know? And no, we're working, Holmes maintained, with a principle, not a personality. Personalities get tired, personalities get cranky, personalities have a short fuse, principles don't. You can go to the principle as often as you want. You ever they call it, there's a $2 word for this, anthropomorphize. Have you ever anthropomorphized a principle before? Like, I don't know, you vacuum the floor and then you realize you missed a spot and you got to get the vacuum out again and you sort of apologize to it. I'm sorry, I put you away and I know you thought you were done, but then you're like, what am I doing? I'm losing my mind. I'm talking to the vacuum cleaner. We sometimes do that. But principles, whatever use you make of the thing, it's like the first time. It's happy to be there. And it will respond. How would it be if prayer were a principle? Not an engagement with personality, but a principle. And this is what Holmes taught. And he taught it to all who'd listen. And it didn't matter what faith they practiced, he was not trying to change them. He was not, this is really critical to understand, he was not trying to talk them out of that and into this. It's whatever you do, believe in your heart and doubt not. Whatever sort of construct of deity you pray to is your business. But believe that something's going to happen or you're wasting your time. Believe something is going to happen or you're wasting your time. Sometimes what people will do is they'll change gods because the one isn't coming across. You know, the one they started out with, or they're embarrassed. It's like, oh God, I've been to this God so often, and he's seen me at my worst, you know, and so and people they'll be like, I need an exotic God. A God from another culture that I know nothing about. Let's go with that God and kind of start over with a clean slate. It's the same one. It's the same one. And you know what? However crossways you think you've gotten with the first one, you pick right up where you left off with the next one. And it carries you to the same place. And changing religions takes you to the same place. You say, now I'm going to ascend through the 7 levels of this, or, whatever. And it'll take you right, where it'll take you? We've talked about this before. It'll take you to the door of your own issues. It'll take you to the place of your own, where your willingness ends. It'll take you there again. And you're like, will you take me no further? And if it had a voice, it would respond. Therein the patient must minister to himself. That's what the doctor told Macbeth. Therein the patient must minister. You got to do your own work. You got to do your own work. Half of this teaching is that you are a child of God. Half of this teaching is that you are a child of God. You are a beautiful, special, all the stuff we sang in this song. Beautiful, capable child of God. God loves you just as you are, whatever your understanding of God may be. It loves you and you share in its attributes, because being its child, you're not its adopted child, you're not its half child, you're not its foundling child, you are, its blood runs in your veins, its genes course through you. You are one with it. You're not all of it, but you're enough of it. See, you're not all of it. You're not like out there making planets and stuff, right? But you're making your experience of planets and stuff. You're making your experience of life today. And you're doing so as a co-creator with the infinite. You decide how things are, the quality of things, the value of things. This is what you determine. How are you today? Somebody asks you. Where do you look for the answer? You look within yourself and your feeling nature. John, I'm pretty much okay today, Well, then, there you are. You have set that bar. Or as Scripture puts it, you've established your tabernacle in the wilderness. You've set out this place for yourself. You've described your own reality. This is how we co-create. We don't need to make worlds. They already exist. We simply refine our experience of things. We decide the quality. And we do so in anticipation. We believe first before there's a result. This is something Holmes seized on to. Mark 11:23 is one place it shows up. And he saw this when Jesus said that would, believe that you have already received. Having to do with the mountain being removed into the sea. Believe that you have already received. Holmes went back and paged through some more stuff. I see this over here too. I see this in the Bhagavad Gita. I see this in the Upanishads. I see this in the Gnostic writings. See it there that first you make up your mind. First you determine. First you vision how you would have things be. And then things are free to show up that way. Wow, most people have it backward.
Yeah.
Most people wait for things to occur and then they react to them. Well, let's see what tomorrow's like. Here comes tomorrow. Kind of rolls over them, And they're like, whoa, that was some kind of experience. I said, no. How would it be if I could envision reality and then have it show up that way, yet with enough play in it to have surprise, to have some details not all nailed down, How would that be? Well, that right there is the big mystical secret. That right there is what all the occult, arcane stuff, esoteric stuff, mystery school stuff, all of that surrounds that idea, and it teaches it by allegory, and it teaches it by inference and illusion and so on. But that right there is really it. This is how you create. You expect a thing. You affirm a thing. You announce a thing, and then the thing is free to tailor itself to that announcement that you've made. If you believe in your heart and doubt not. People who hear this, such as yourselves today, are in the vanguard of humanity. You're also very much, kind of a, not exactly an outlaw. What's the word I want here? You're a outlier? Renegade.
Misfit.
Well, misfit. Who? No. I had a word. Where did that word go?
Rebel.
Rebel. I had a word. I have a lot of words here. What was the word I was looking for? Which is I didn't write down that word. What you get when I'm driving at here?
No.
A pioneer?
Pioneer.
No.
Sounds like the word.
Troublemaker will work.
Troublemaker.
You're talking to Lisa specifically?
Yeah, troublemaker will work. Word will come to me momentarily. And what I mean by it is this. When you know that you have a direct, unmediated connection to the divine, nobody can control you. And this annoys the people who would control you. You are now the enemy of despots and tyrants and oppressors on this planet. Because you have seen the truth, which is you can't keep people down. You can't enslave people. You can't oppress people and limit people. You, all through human history, the people, this is why this stuff was driven underground. This is why it had to go to tarot cards and stuff and be passed around in secret, heavily encrypted form. You couldn't just announce it. What Ernest Holmes and others did that was so absolutely astonishing, she got right up there and just blurted it all out. No big drama, no big, occult performance, just boom, here it is. Here it is. That you are this, powerful. You are a child of God, and you're also an adult of God. Both at the same time. The child of God stuff is a warm fuzzy, isn't it?
Yeah.
God loves you just the way you are, and there's nothing wrong with you, and there never has been, and this applies to absolutely everybody. I mean absolutely everybody, including the people you don't think it should apply to. It applies to them too. Across the board, everybody, warm, fuzzy, just big God love and all of this. And the other half of it is you are an adult of God, which means you are absolutely 100, and I am absolutely 100% responsible for the creation of the experience of my life.
Okay.
Not 98%, not 72%, 100%, all the time, no matter what. That's the price we pay. You want the warm fuzzy, you want to be loved on by God as his perfect child and stuff, well then, for that to be true, you must also be a co-creator. Otherwise, you'd only be partly okay. You see how that works? Part power, part okay. All power, all okay. It's got to be one way or the other. This is what we presume it to be, is that we are responsible for the creation of our life. Do accidents happen? Yes, but within a field that we have marked out for ourselves. Do surprises happen? Yes, but within a field. There's a randomness within a certain field, but the field itself is not random. You allow for certain possibilities that exist within a certain framework, and this is what you manage in consciousness. You don't staple every last detail to the floor, but you manage the general framework of consciousness, and that's how your life begins to play out. One very profound way you can do this, starting today, is to decide that your life has a significant purpose. You're not just here to pay bills till you die. You're not just here to eat till you're full. You know what I mean? You're here to do some exquisitely important thing, and only you know really what that is, and you do know what it is, and it scares daylights out of you, but it's there, and it's underneath a lot of other stuff, and that's what your life is. And if you decide that, you know what happens is a lot of stuff falls away. And you start seeing in Technicolor. And you start seeing, stuff stands out in relief, and suddenly peripheral stuff and distracting stuff and all, it just falls away. I'll give you a hack. I'm going to give you some hacks as we go along through the month. This is one I haven't brought up in a long time because it sounds really strange, plus I'd sort of gotten away from doing it. When you pray, put your hands over your face. Watch this. Go like this. Put your hands over your face. Okay?
No.
My eyes are open under my hands, but I can't see anything. Why do I do that? It's intentional. No distraction. You try this. See, if you just close your eyes, you can peek and stuff, and your mind wanders, and this is the thing with prayer, any meditation, any kind of spiritual practice, is mind wanders. There's always something tapping you on the shoulder saying, hey, don't remember. You have at 3 o'clock, all of this stuff. We got things beeping and booping all over the phones and this, with all of the things we're to do. Put your hands over your face, and you'll build the habit of it. And it also looks a little bit like kind of a church. Here's the church and here's the steeple sort of thing. Put your hands over your eyes, okay? And it'll become a comfortable, familiar place that you get to, and you go in there, and it is your closet. Remember, go into your closet to pray? It's your closet. You go in your closet, right? Like you close the closet door, it's dark in there. You go in there, and you'll find that you're attuned to what it is you're set up to do. This is one of many ways, many forms of taking up your spiritual inheritance. It's all promised to you. It's promised in the scriptures of the world. It's in poetic language, and sometimes it's in sort of brutalist language, but it's in there. It's promised. But what's promised is it's like a job. It's like a job. You get the job, you're promised the job. Or it's like admission to a university. Did your child get a letter that they're admitted to some university? That's great. That's not a degree. That's not a degree. That's where the fun starts, you see. And so, the recognition of your spiritual power is the invitation to use your spiritual power, to do the thing that you came here to do, to take it up. Again, through the month and the months beyond, we're going to consider more of this. For today, besides the hand over the face thing, which just occurred to me to tell you, I have an assignment for you, a little homework for you. No, I know. Imagine that your words and actions really have power. And ask yourself as you go through the week, are my words and my actions, and I'm not including thoughts here, because thoughts, that's kind of ephemeral and vague. Focus right now on words and thoughts, because those you can track. Are my words and thoughts congruent to the life I choose to inhabit? Are my words and thoughts congruent to the life I choose to inhabit? What are words and thoughts that would not be congruent? Judgment, criticism, condemnation, comparison, snarkiness, sarcasm, bitterness, overused irony. Irony works to a point, but it's like seasoning. You got to back off. You know? Notice if you're wounding yourself. Notice if you're hurting yourself with your own words. You say something clever, you know? You say something wise, like smart, you know? And and there's kind of this twinge. You don't want that. That's not creating the life that you want. Just notice that without judgment. And don't beat yourself up if you do that. Just notice that. And notice that your words have so much power that they'll tell you how you're doing. They'll bite you a little. They'll nip at you a little bit. If you use words and undertake actions that are not congruent with the vision of your life as you would have it be. Just do that much this week. Just notice. If you forget to notice, once you realize you've forgotten to notice, now you've remembered to notice, right? You come back next week and you haven't noticed all week long. You know what's going to happen? You know what's going to happen if you come back next week and you haven't done all of this? You'll still be a child of God. God will just love you and I'll love you and everything will be just fine, and we'll pick up where we are. And it all really, in that respect, comes back to something Holmes said in his Declaration of Principles, which I've made up copies for you of, that are on the table back there, if you'd like. The Declaration of Principles, the fundamentals of our teaching. Yeah, this last thing. I was raised in a spiritual teaching that was benign and sweet and all, but it still had what's called an eschatology or end story of basically everything here was going to go real wrong on this earth, real sideways. There'd be judgment, and those found wanting would face doom, and those who had done the right thing, well, they'd get on board, go, you get what I'm driving at. You've come into a teaching here that, like Holmes put in the Declaration of Principles, we believe in the complete emancipation from all discord of every nature, and that this goal is sure to be attained by who? All. All. So if you don't do any of the things that I suggest, or Jim, your practitioner of the day, suggests, or whoever, Reverend Lisa, or any of our teachers here suggest, if you don't do any of this, you know what's going to happen to you? You'll do it some other time. You'll do it some other time. You'll realize at some point in time that there is an absolute, unmistakable connection between thoughts and things as they pertain to your consciousness, and that's when you'll do it. But we're hoping that you'll do it sooner than later, for your good, and also for this planet. Because there are fires to put out, man. There are things to heal in this world. It requires conscious individuals such as you. So let us know together. Now, one life, one power, one presence, pure spirit, everywhere, radiant, magnificent. Now we'll talk about the weather. We'll talk about this absolutely gorgeous day that has turned into, that is reminding us in this new year of all the sunlight yet to come and all the sweet breezes And spring isn't far away. And in this part of the land, that looks like flowers blooming. Wildflowers and azaleas, and the trees will bud. I affirm and know for each one of us that we feel ourselves as the experience that life is having by means of us, pulsing through us. We're no longer alone. We're not separate, alien, strange. We're connected like the branches of a tree, like the leaves connected to the branches of the tree, to the trunk of the tree, to the roots of the tree. We're connected to the one tree, the one life, around which all creation moves. And we're free to draw from that what we need. And we're free to return into that what we have found, what we have discovered. For spirit makes worlds and peoples them with living things for the purpose of self-expression. And it made you from within itself and me from within itself so that we might go forward and have experiences. And the quality of those experiences is up to us. The value of those experiences is something we determine. But we're doing just fine at having experiences. We have fulfilled our cosmic destiny just by showing up. Now we choose to enjoy it. We choose to thrive at it. We choose to share compassion and goodwill wherever we go. This is possible because it is conceivable. We have imagined it, therefore it lies before us. For this knowing and its manifestation in form everywhere we turn. I am so deeply grateful. I release this word now into the infinite, calling it done, and so it is.
And so it is.
All right,
The circle is forming.
this is the tricky part.
It's organic.
There you go.
And there it is.
There it is.
There it is.
May the circle be unbroken.
And so, as I stand here and I look gratefully at everyone who's gathered, I call to mind the one, the God. I call it life. I call it knowingness. I call it awareness. I call it love. I am one with this, as is everyone who's gathered here. And from this place of oneness, from this place of love, I speak these words for myself and everyone. That as we go into life and we see those things that take us to our limit, we recognize our judgment and instead turn to what we are called to do by that thing. What we are called to examine, what we are called to do in order to love. And I'm grateful for these words. I speak these words into the law of creation. And thus it comes to pass. Thus it is true in our life. Thus it lives in the world. And together we say, and so it is.
Say with me now, something wonderful is happening through me.
Something wonderful is happening through me.
I feel it in my body.
I feel it in my body.
I feel it in my mind.
I feel it in my mind.
I feel it in everything I am.
I feel it in everything I am.
I choose it.
I choose it.
I trust it.
I trust it.
I use it.
I use it.
And I love it.
And I love it.
And
So it is.